Okay, today we are cracking open the latest intelligence from Savills Research. We're doing a deep dive into the UK's prime property market.
So the high-value homes.
Exactly. And specifically, what's been happening right after the recent budget announcements. We've been seeing these pretty severe price corrections for a while, but suddenly the story's changed.
It really has.
So our mission today is to figure out why.
Yeah.
Why did the sharp price falls that, really define 2025 suddenly ease up so much in the last quarter?
And what was this better-than-feared outcome on taxation that seems to have unlocked everything?
Yes, exactly that.
Well, the main takeaway is almost immediate, and it's all behavioral. The easing of the price decline wasn't really because rates dropped or anything like that.
That hasn't really happened yet.
No, it was a direct result of tax clarity. You had buyers, especially in that really cautious £2 million plus bracket, who had just frozen their plans.
Paused everything.
Completely. And when the tax news wasn't a total catastrophe, that confidence just came flooding back. They had to get back in the market.
That mental shift is such a core indicator. The Savills survey shows a net 12% more people are now committed to moving in the next 2 years. That's a huge signal.
It is.
And looking at the macro picture, values in prime regional spots dipped by only, minus 0.6% in Q4,
Yeah.
which is just a massive improvement from the minus 1.4% we saw in Q3.
And if you drill down into London, you see this really crucial split. Prime Central London, or PCL, the super high-end
The
postcodes.
traditional ones.
Right. The price falls there definitely eased, but, PCL is still fundamentally struggling. Prices there are still a staggering 24.5% below their 2014 peak.
Wow. Just think about that. A quarter of the value gone in a decade? That has to be a huge psychological weight on the market.
It is. It's an anchor.
So even with this new tax clarity, why is demand still so thin in PCL?
Well, the buyer pool there is just inherently smaller, you see. And agents on the ground are pointing specifically to one thing: the end of the non-dom regime. When that ended, that very specific demographic, the ultra-wealthy international buyer, they suddenly lost a really compelling financial reason to be based here. It just shrinks an already tiny market.
So if PCL is struggling, did the rest of London see a clearer benefit?
Yes, and this is where it gets really interesting. You get this outer prime London bounce.
Places like Chiswick.
Exactly like Chiswick. It saw the strongest quarterly growth, up 1.3%. These are the areas with those big 2 million plus family homes, and they bounced back hard.
Because the threat of that high-value council tax surcharge turned out to be less scary than they thought.
Pretty much. It had a limited impact, and it just unleashed this whole backlog of family buyers who had been sitting on their hands.
And this trend of things getting better, it's not just a London thing.
Not at all. Shifting to the regions, you see a similar story. Prime regional price falls have slowed right down. That jump in confidence was felt, across the whole high-value market.
But the unexpected champion here was Scotland, right?
Absolutely. Scotland was the strongest performing prime market overall in 2025. It just held steady while other places were falling.
And Edinburgh City specifically. It logged, 2.1% growth on the year?
It did, and that's largely driven by a really constrained supply and just strong local demand. It kind of buffers it from the wider economic chaos.
Okay, so that brings us to the country house market. You said it's signaling an early bottoming out.
Yes. This market took a really severe hit through 2025. But in Q4, the pace of decline just eased dramatically. It fell only minus 0.6% compared to minus 2.8% in Q3.
So what does bottoming out really mean for someone looking to buy or sell?
It means the rapid free fall has stopped. The market seems to have found a floor. And that's always the first step before things can stabilize and eventually start to climb again.
So for a buyer right now, does this mean there's actual value out there?
Absolutely. Even with the falls easing, values are still 8.2% lower than this time last year. Savills says there is notable value on offer. The risk of, catching a falling knife is getting smaller.
So looking ahead to 2026, the headline seems to be that while a steadier mortgage market will help, we should still expect some moderate price falls to continue, at least in the new year.
I think that's right. There's still economic uncertainty, and people are adjusting to the new tax thresholds. But this raises the key question, especially for sellers.
Which is?
The market is unlikely to wait for the traditional spring selling season to pick up in 2026. Things are moving now. But success, particularly at the top end of the market, is going to come down to one thing.
Pragmatism.
Pragmatism. That will be the key to getting a sale done.
But what does pragmatic actually look like to a seller who's already seen a 24% loss since 2014? Are we talking about pricing right at this new floor? Or being ready to accept an offer that's still well under what they hoped for a few years ago? That psychological shift is what we'll be watching next.